for example, there's another principle, what we call the law of use.
Sure.
So if, let's say, I decide to then fasten my right hand to my chest for the next 6 months to a year, what will happen to my hand? It won't work ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But if I consistently use my hand, it will then be in use.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we failing to then use our brains in the right manner so that they can consistently work?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about, ever since the day TikTok started existing, our concentration span decreased?
Okay.
Because why? We are teaching our brains to use 30 seconds of concentration span to a certain topic or structure or video.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything is more than a minute, and then it's a problem.
What's the difference between a politician and a political activist?
Politician is it's a profession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're a professional. You're a professional government spokesperson, for lack of a better word. And then as an activist, you live for the crowd. You don't have time for blue lights. You don't have time for people opening doors for you. Your primary concern is the well-being of the next person. So if Umundas next door, for instance, is lacking in some way, I need to sacrifice the little that I have to ensure that they are well dressed.
Since Pandeli side, it's everybody's line, and no one can stop me. When I jump, you just run it for me. And don't I see you gotta notice. Bang, bro. Bang, bro. Bang, bro. Since Pandeli side, it's everybody's line, and no one can stop.
I'm afraid to welcome back to Behind the Hustle. On today's episode, I have Your Excellency, Your Royal Highness, His President, the voice of the many, voice of the youth, voice of Ekurhuleni. Understand? And if you don't watch this full episode, guys, it's gonna be a problem, because if only you knew how much it took for me to get this guy. It's currently, what time is it now? It's currently 11:30. It's 11:30, and we are recording this episode specifically for you, Jay, I understand, because we've been trying to meet so many times, and things have been happening, and yeah, it's 11:30 p.m. just to let you know. So yeah. Today we have Nceba Ngwenya. He's the president of Ekurhuleni Parliament, and he's been pushing. Officially met him on the 10th of June, which was the day that I hosted the Hustler Summit, and ever since then we've been talking here. We've been in talks, pushing a couple of things, and now we are here to see the face, and now you are here to learn more about him actually, and what work he does, and he's been doing great things here around Ekurhuleni. So sit back, relax, and definitely get some water, because I know we'll see some gems will be dropped. I understand. So without wasting time, let's get on to it. Never. I mean, there's no need for me to greet. There's no need. Yeah, we've been having conversations since we came here, and yeah, no. I just want to find out, how was your day? How was your day, Papa?
My day was good.
Yeah.
My day was good. Very productive.
Yeah.
I believe that if a day is productive, a day is good.
Yeah.
So I feel no need to then complain.
Yeah.
So day was perfect.
Sweet.
Even though it's not hasn't ended.
Hasn't ended. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I can see without cartel. I can see that you're tired, bro.
Sure.
Take us through your day, Jay. Take us through your day, because it's currently 11 and you're still receiving calls. Yeah. I've been with him, Jay. I think it's an hour's figure. Like office. So we are in his office right now, and we are doing this podcast in his office. So your phone has been ringing, bro. Like, your phone has been ringing non-stop. Like, is this your day, Jay? Like, take us through, Jay. Your day. Take us through your day. Like, what happens throughout your day? Because this guy, like, if I can tell you guys, this guy, phone yake, it's always off. During the day, you'll never find him. It's either on late or late. Understand? So take us through your day, bro. Like, take us through your day. Yeah.
So largely, normally when you'd find my phone ringing at
Yeah,
night,
yeah,
it's because during the day I wasn't accessible.
Sure.
And it's nothing intentional.
Sure.
There are points where during the day I am accessible, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
So my day on a normal basis is that I wake up in the morning, thank God for the gift of life.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, it depends as to what time I'm privileged to wake
Sure.
up. Right. I always ensure that I always consume a few knowledge or so. I read a book, probably.
Yeah.
And that's normally around 4 5
a.m.
a.m.
Yeah.
And then my day normally then starts around 7 8, depending as to where I need to be and who I need to assist.
Sure.
So normally I'm part of over 5 community group chats with community. So they normally have sewage problems. They normally have electricity problems. They normally have crime problems. So my day is structured towards assisting the communities the best way I can.
Sure.
So if let's per se in Katlehong there's a cable fault in Ziyet.
Yeah.
I'll get a call, a president, there's an issue, so.
Sure.
Or I'll get a text.
Sure.
So normally when a text is sent, it's sent to my other device.
Yeah.
We have assistants that help us in terms of replying to emergency calls and so on.
Yeah.
So that's what I do on a daily. So assisting the community is a 24/7 work. 24/7 work. So that's what I do on a daily. So I can't really structure my days to this is what I do at this hour, the next hour.
Yeah.
But it's all about being on the ground with the community.
Sure. Take us back again. Let's go back. Let's go back. I suppose you grew up in Leondale, right? Yeah. So take us back again. Back. Okay, take us. I think in high school. Understand? Or let's go. I think we should start back.
Sure.
How was it growing up? How was your upbringing like?
Yeah. So I'm raised by a pastor.
Okay.
Even though when I was born, he wasn't officially a pastor of a congregation.
Yeah.
I almost called it an organization, but
yeah.
But he was pastoring a church
Sure.
at some point as an assistant pastor. My mother is a very intelligent somebody as well.
Sure.
She didn't go. She doesn't have matric.
Sure.
But she's very intelligent.
Yeah.
My dad is very very handy. So I'm raised by those two characters. So you can just imagine that it's a house full of. I don't want to make it a religious thing, but a house full of Christian morals and beliefs and principles.
Sure.
So that's how I was raised.
Sure.
And my mother is someone who's very strict, as well as my dad. So I had strict parents, accessibility. But funny enough, they were very light when it comes to me.
Yeah.
Very lenient, more than the others.
So I am the last born.
Obvious. So that was my upbringing.
Sure.
That's how I grew up. That was the environment. Church was the environment.
Sure.
Later on the stage when I was doing grade 6, 7, that's when I started learning how to play the keyboard.
Okay.
And primarily I learned how to play the keyboard because I had to assist at church. But the servants, me being a servant at church didn't begin when my dad had a congregation.
Yeah.
Way back when my dad was still an assistant pastor at some other church, I choose not to articulate the name of the church. I would then go with him Ekurhuleni and set up the chairs at Sunday school.
Yeah.
And when the teachers of Sunday school would get there, they would get the place already set out already.
Yeah.
So I've always been a servant. So that's how I grew up. I was always taught that you need to sacrifice what you have for the next person.
Sure.
So if it is your time, sacrifice your time for the next person, for the progress of the next person. So that's the type of environment I was brought up in.
Sure.
And I was brought up in an environment where my dad and my mother would bring in people into our home. So there was a point when sometimes when people would sleep so and me and my brother would have to sort ourselves out, make a plan. You understand?
Yeah.
Because so that became tradition.
Sure.
And growing up at this point, now I sometimes bring people bazohlala like Nati, and it's normally that's how the background has been.
Sure.
Yeah.
And how many?
So it's
How many
three
siblings?
boys.
It's three boys.
Yeah. So it's Upunkandla, it's Umonde, and then it's me.
Ne?
Yeah, I'm the last boy.
No, the last one.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah. We understand
Sure,
that.
yeah.
And mind you, Ekurhuleni kwakho, did you ever think ukuthi uzofika la ukhona? Was it always a thing ukuthi you always gonna be this leader or you today? Where did it start? Where did it all start?
So interestingly enough, growing up, I wanted to be a very rich businessman.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have the biggest car, biggest house, the most prettiest,
Sure.
beautiful wife. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But funny enough, whenever I would have time, I would then watch Parliament as a fun activity, which was weird for someone my age.
Yeah.
I'd watch Abu Willie Madesha, Abu Naledi Panu, definitely Zulu, you Sini Lozi, you Malema, you Floyd Chivambu, you Naledi. Yeah. So I'd watch that. So that was me being introduced to the leadership aspect of life. But funny enough, growing up, I was always seen and perceived as a leader. So whenever there were any group activities, whether church, whether school, I'd normally be the leader. Yeah, but normally, thinking about it now, I'd normally be the leader.
Was it something that you intentionally did, or it was someone choosing you to be the leader?
I'm very outspoken.
Yeah.
So I challenge a lot of, not that I denounce rules, but I challenge a lot of rules.
I challenge
a lot of rules. I question a lot of things. So that for me automatically made me stood out.
Sure.
That got me stood out. So normally I would then be chosen as a leader to then lead a group. So that's how I got introduced to the leadership aspect of my life and being a calling. But I've always been a businessman at heart.
Yeah.
And then God had different plans, and that's why I'm here. I never thought, never in a single day I ever told you that. Even my parents were shocked the day Mbang on TV. So my parents didn't know that I'm active in politics.
Sure.
Until they saw me for the first time on TV when I was wearing uniform.
Sure.
And I was speaking to SABC news reporter on the Nceba. You can search it up. Just search World Changes Candidates.
Yeah.
I think you'll see it.
Yeah.
So my parents were shocked. They didn't believe, but it's just the same time.
Yeah.
And like I'm mostly quiet, reserved. If I'm not here, I'm chilling with them, but I hardly ever have much to say.
Sure.
So, and I'm completely a different character on stage as well. So people would like, hey man, when you're on stage, you someone else. It's like you're a different character altogether. Yeah. So that's how I got introduced to the leadership aspect of life. But for me, as I said, I've always been a businessman.
And mind you, when you are at home, you are a different person compared to when you are at stage.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? Like, how do you balance that? Because there's a saying, your parents will know you as their child, but Tina will know you as a person who's Sure.
Understand. Yeah. Sure. So I would be lying if I said I have a generic balance of how I do that. It's an organic thing, right? I'd be lying if I said someone trained me how to then be on stage and know how to speak or to know what to say, when to say it, how to articulate matters. It's an organic thing. It's something that can't be taught to someone. Yeah. So hence I'm not saying which I view things from a different perspective when I'm home. No, I still have the same perception of things. It's just that my way of reaction is different, and I'm someone that when, let's say, something great happens, you won't see me jumping up and down. That rarely happens. If you buy me a car now, I'm like, cool, thank you, great. And not that I'm not appreciative of the gift, but automatically my mind is already thinking, I need petrol to get to the next step. I need to then have enough finance to deal with the tires, whatever problem get me. Okay, so that's how I act.
Sure.
Yeah. So hence, you normally find a different character when I'm inside the house and I'm just laid back and meditating, or when I'm on stage. When I'm on stage, then I'm articulating my loud thoughts that I have already have been having in my own personal space. Sure, yeah. So that's just who I am.
Yeah. And take us through your high school days.
Yeah.
Take us through your high school days. You mentioned ukuthi boy president yes,
Sure.
I understand. Yeah. President of the RCL in Leondale High, right? Yeah. And you're part of the guys that trended.
Yeah.
You're part of the the 420 gang. Yeah. And how did you end up, Lab? Would you say it's bad company or it's a choice that you made? Because for abantu abangazi, can you please explain as to what happened?
Yeah. So now if you go to Google and search up 420 or London High Tahati, pop up.
Yeah.
Before anyone continues watching this video, you can just go there, Tahati London High, it'll pop up, and then they'll get what you're talking about. I would call it a circumstance of environment. In that environment, it was normal. It has been made a normality. In fact, in our communities, black communities, it has been made normal that someone used to then smoke cigarettes when they're in high school. That's when they need to be introduced to cigarettes.
Yeah.
Someone needs to be introduced to weed. Someone needs to be introduced to alcohol, and all. It became a tradition. So that's how I got caught up in that whole space. But I still believe, and I still say that, especially to people around me, they've probably heard me say this. It was, I don't want to even call it a blessing in disguise, but it was a root way of leading me to where I needed to be, because that aligned me to being a drug activist, and being a drug activist aligned me to being a social activist, of which that's what I am now. I hate calling myself a politician because I'm not a politician. I'm an activist. I'm a servant for the people. Sure.
And what's the difference between a politician and a political activist?
Politician it's a profession. Yeah, you're a professional. You're a professional government spokesperson, for lack of a better word. And then as an activist, you live for the crowd. You don't have time for blue lights. You don't have time for people opening doors for you. Your primary concern is the well-being of the next person. So if Umundas next door, for instance, is lacking in some way, I need to sacrifice the little that I have to ensure that they are well dressed. They know what it's all about. An activist is so passionate about ensuring that the issues that we face on a daily basis are being addressed. Well, a politician his primary concern is to ensure that I'm the best at what I do as a profession. So it's work for them. For me, it's a lifestyle. Hence, we're having an interview right now. It's 11 p.m.
At 11 p.m. Yeah.
But it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Interesting. Okay, so high school happened, and you said you were a businessman before being a political activist. Yeah. And what people? Okay, for me, you've told me, but for someone else who's interested, who was like, hey, they would want to know, what's your story, because you mentioned it was before Ekurhuleni Parliament, you started as a events organizer.
Yes. Sure.
So, what types of event and yini against the steps now I want to, because at some point you quit a scale. I understand. Yeah. At some point you quit a scale. Yini against to business for it.
Okay, so I grew up in a household where my dad was working, my mother was working, and they were doing very well until their employment period came to an end. And that's when I started realizing that times are tough. But the turning point was when I remember very well in the morning. So my mother would be normally the one that would give me my care. So that day my mother is getting me ready. So young Lisa, I go there. She was in the kitchen. I won't forget that day. And when I walked into the kitchen, her eyes were filled with tears. Yeah, but but you could tell this
Yeah.
person is in pain.
Yeah.
And my mother says, hey, I have a school feeding scheme.
Yeah.
Who's a feeding scheme?
Yeah.
Right? In my head, I think with you why I was
Yeah.
I with all kinds on that. Went to school on a daily. My mother told me waiting here feeding scheme to do it. Got there, break time came, I went to the feeding scheme. When I went to the feeding scheme, this lady said to me, hi, Opalisang, I can't give you food. And I was angry. I think that messed up my entire day.
Yeah.
But I'm hungry.
Then what would you do to Palisa?
And remember, anyone that used to go to Section 21 schools. So Section 21 schools are semi-government, semi-paying schools.
Okay.
Right.
So just like Leonila.
Yeah, just like Leonila, just like your Lion, just like your Alston. They're not fully paying schools. There are subsidies that the government provides. So those are your Section 21 schools. So they will tell you back in the day you need to sign up for a feeding scheme. Yeah. You would not just go there and play it.
Because where you go, more feel like
So you'd have to people will tell you that people that I used to go to school with will tell you. So that happened when you talk and I'm hungry and I don't even know what I don't think I even understood
what's happening. Yeah.
So I was angry for the whole thing. The first question mama was I walked out, I came into this current room. So this room is very important to me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of memories.
Sure.
Walked into this current room we're in when it was still a room, not an office.
Not an office. Yeah.
Walked in, slammed the door, and I was so angered by what I experienced. I was so angered with you. How can I feel so hopeless? So that's when and I was still in primary.
Sure.
So times were tough. And
so this was in primary. I mean, I'm thinking with everything is happening. Was high school?
No. I was still in primary, doing grade 6. So I continued life. My dad is very skilled when it comes to hands, so that's how we got by, and the rest was just God.
Sure.
The rest was just God. And then got to grade 8, pressure was getting worse.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to school with people that my parents are employed.
Yeah.
People will tell you, my mother is a teacher. His
father is this.
You understand?
Yeah.
And then you start realizing it's either you do it yourself or there's no way out. And it would pain me to see which my parents would want the best for me. If it brings to me, so that's when the inspiration of business started. And that's when I got exposed to the concept of business.
Yeah.
So grade 8 there, went to grade 9, went to a couple of friends, and then that's when I established my first business, which was Talks Entertainment. So the co-foundation of Talks Entertainment was to create revenue for schools.
Sure.
Through fundraising and events, having game rooms and so on. So that's where we were basically intending to. And then we gravitated towards having and hosting events for private sections.
Sure.
And my clubbing for VIP area, getting businessmen to, like the bowling, the bowling tradition that we have now. We were doing that. And I was only.
Why you were still in high school?
Well, I was still in high school.
Yeah.
I was 15.
When you were
I was not even legally allowed to be there, but that's where I was pushing. I was pushing because I understood with the money now.
Yeah.
And then the Talks Entertainment would then make money from that commission.
Sure.
And then I realized, this is not it anymore. We lost the core value of the business. The 2 gentlemen that I was business partners with continued. Sat back down, started working. So I've been trying picking a shop at some point. And would help my dad whenever he had private jobs. So my dad is a good carpenter.
Sure.
Yeah. So I happen to be also good with carpentry as well. Yeah. Kuzo zonke izinto that I've done with him.
Yeah.
Carpentry is the best that I can do. Yeah. So did that with him. Had dynamite at some point. What else? Building as well. So exposed to that. A few months down the line, started my other business as well. Is Nceba Services.
Yeah.
So Nceba Services was a company ran by me, my good friend Osbonel.
Sure.
We're still good friends in fact. So we started that. Became that we were offering premium services e-gardening.
Yeah.
Funny enough, premium services yakhona sama iKrivaya, iShofolo,
Yeah, right.
I would walk from Laikai to all the way to Huntersville in the morning. So I'd have to leave the house at 5. Osborne will tell you, and I'll share you pictures so that you can also
share
the pictures so that you see when I used to be in overalls. We used to walk from the car, I did,
bro,
London
to Huntersville.
To Huntersville in the morning around 5, so I'd get there around 6, 7 if I was slow.
Yeah.
Okay? And then from then on, we'd walk house to house. We'll choose a specific area. House to house, we'll knock. Hi, my name is Nceba Ngwenya. I'm here with Sponelo's Tole. We are here to sell you a good deal that has never been sold to you. Those cards is particularly and a speed shuffle.
Yeah.
We are here to sell the most premium deal to you. We do shelves, we sell ourselves. That's what we do. House to house.
Yeah.
I remember my first paycheck was 75 rand.
Yeah.
And we had to share 75 rand.
Yeah.
So that was the experience. That was our business, and unfortunately we had to stop. That was around COVID.
2021.
2020, 2021, we had to stop. And then at some point I decided, let me just focus on school. But I couldn't.
So, by the time you decided to focus on school, was it before you quit or after you quit?
After, it was way after.
After you quit?
Way after.
So after you quit school, how many years did you sit in?
I didn't sit in now. Being up, I quit.
Yeah.
But when I report end of the year when I failed, man. When I wasn't going to school.
The whole year?
Not entirely the whole year, but from around March, because it was during the Heto Talks in the days.
Yeah.
Around March, there was no need for me to go to school because there's a meeting in something. That's where the ballers used to stay, right? So if there's a club we needed to push in Melvin or in Midrand or in wherever, the guys to speak to were there. So that was the situation then.
And manje lento leyo wena lento okhuluma ngayo manje, the premium gardening service, you did that like in 2021. Like what do you think stop like the young generation or especially our peers?
Sure.
I understand. What do you think is stop ukuthi bayenze like bahustle, because you can call it hustling. Usukela eLondon, Huntersfield. Every day, 5 a.m. I understand. You go house to house. Can happen ukuthi ube 75 rand in a day. It's possible. Ukuthi usukela wayele for 75 rand. I understand. What makes you think ukuthi thina asifuni ukwenza lokho, or youth yethu ayifuni ukwenza, especially ama peers wethu ayifuni ukuya kuleyo route le?
Can I be honest with you? This is our biggest enemy. The phone. Because we then tend to absorb every fake information that we get, fake lifestyle. You don't post about you having a bad day and your tummy is running on social media, on Instagram. You post serious, drinking important drinks. And that perception, people start thinking and start feeling like that's an everyday life. And then they tend to forget that certain things you need to work for them. You understand? Nothing comes easy. You understand? And I think we've lost the core fundamental principle of teaching as a generation. And even, in fact, the previous generation. Because the previous generation, before Dala, kids were raised up in a village, and then there will be this one specific lady who's responsible for inducting and teaching the kids in terms of responsibilities, respect. By the time the girls and the boys are separated, the boy clearly understands the mandate of respect. The girl understands the mandate of submission. You understand? So that's where everything, we lost everything, and that's our biggest problem. Hence, right now, my efforts and investments are going so much into educating and re-educating people as to principles, laws, and so on. Remember when I was attending Hustler Summit, that's what I spoke about.
True.
Principles, laws. Because if we then start understanding simple things like that, we are gone as a generation, as a society, in fact.
teaching in principles. Can you please elaborate more on that? Can you please elaborate more on that? I understand.
Sure. So we live on Earth.
Yeah.
Right? Earth is a container. Please borrow me your glass.
Okay,
Just to
sure.
make a simple illustration. You don't need to finish the water.
Mm.
I'll use the water. So
Okay,
you
sure.
can pour water
Okay,
just a
sure.
bit, yeah. So that you get the illustration that I want to make, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think that's enough. So this is the class.
Yeah.
Right? So this class for today will name it the Earth. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the Earth, the content,
Yeah.
it's the container.
Yeah.
The water inside this class is what we call the world.
Mm.
So what's the world? Me, you, everyone that is living
on this
Earth,
yeah.
right? So, but there are contents that make the world what it is. It's what we call principles and the laws, right? So, and systems that work, function within the world.
Yeah.
And there's a core system that exists. The system of the marketplace.
Yeah.
Now, business people have abused the system of the marketplace and made it seem like it's only a business thing. But every individual lives based on the system of the marketplace. What's the system of the marketplace? The system of the marketplace is the place where you come to exchange what you have for what you do not have. Simple as that. Consistently, everything we are exchanging what we have for what we do not have.
So waking up to go to work.
Exactly. We are exchanging your skills for money that you don't have. Simple. It's a daily. Everyone does this. We are consistently exchanging. We come to a place to exchange what we don't have.
Something that we.
So these are the basic principles. I always need to be in exchange.
Yeah.
Right. But the progress is all dependent on the value of exchange that I have to bring to the table. Right? So if as an individual is like for me, like referring to me, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not valuable enough to sit in the same room as you, I wouldn't be in the same room as you. So I have nothing to exchange.
Yeah.
So the reason being you saw it fit for me to be a guest in your podcast is because you saw that there is value to exchange in the marketplace.
True.
You understand? So what you have is numbers of the podcast. I do not have that. I don't have a podcast. You have numbers of the podcast.
Sure.
So what are you exchanging? Your numbers of the podcast, and I'm exchanging what the knowledge that I have. So these are the principles that I believe that we need to consistently teach. This is one of them. There are a lot.
Yeah.
For example, there's another principle, what we call the law of use.
Sure.
So if, let's say, I decide to then fasten my right hand to my chest for the next 6 months to a year, what will happen to my hand? It won't work ever again. But if I consistently use my hand, it will then be in use. So why are we failing to then use our brains in the right manner so that they can consistently work? Have you ever thought about, ever since the day TikTok started existing, our concentration span decreased? Because why? We are teaching our brains to use 30 seconds of concentration span to a certain topic or structure or video. And if anything is more than a minute, and then it's a problem.
So mind you, so I from what you are saying, especially regarding the topic is TikTok, would you say TikTok to some extent it's bad?
Yeah,
especially
for kids.
For kids.
Yeah. If I had a daughter, man, the day God decides to bless me with kids, I want to have 3 daughters. So if one of my daughters would then have TikTok on their phone, it's for me in my house, it would be a serious offense and probably would then follow suit of serious charges to the church. So I want to run my house as a country.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if someone commits an offense, the constitution of the house, they should follow. They should be charged as such, and the punishment should be nothing less than corporal punishment. I'm joking, but yeah, I like if I had a daughter right now, my daughter wouldn't have TikTok on their phone. Never. I wouldn't allow it.
Interesting.
And my daughter probably wouldn't have a phone until she's 18.
But manje, phone, I mean, it's a weapon of mass destruction, right? But don't you think if we were to use this weapon of mass destruction and put it into good use, I mean, there's people who make money on their cell phones, and so on a daily basis.
And that's a great fact. I was someone that would make money from my phone at some point.
Yeah.
But now there's a big part. If we don't first educate, I can't give you a gun and expect you to know how to use a gun.
So we first need to educate.
Because the problem, the biggest mistake that we're doing is we're handing over guns to everyone without training them on as to how to fire the guns.
We'll end up killing each other.
Hence Twitter is the way it is. Because we're giving everyone Twitter and we're not teaching people about the importance of Twitter. We're giving everyone a phone and not teaching everyone as to what's the importance of the phone, the capabilities of a phone are. So we need to start by educating first the people as to say, okay, this is a phone. The phone is capable of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but it can be misused in this way.
Sure.
The same way you train a soldier in handling a gun. Sure. Simple as that.
Interesting bit. Okay. Asingene Ekurhuleni Parliament.
Sure.
How did it come about? How did it come about?
Yeah. So Ekurhuleni Parliament. I never thought, and abantu abaningi bangangiphikisa mengathi Ekurhuleni Parliament has been registered since from March this year.
This year I saw that. Yeah.
So, and a lot of people think Ekurhuleni Parliament has been existing for years because of the amount of impact that we've had.
Yeah.
But it's just been a few months.
Officially, it's
It's just been a few months. Ekurhuleni Parliament. So I remember very well. I was coming from a gig in Northwest.
Okay.
It was on a Sunday around March, end of February, beginning of March.
Which gig? The gig level?
No. So I was managing artists at some point as well.
Yeah.
So we're coming from a gig from the Northwest. It was on a Sunday. I got a DM from the current Secretary General of Ekurhuleni Parliament, which is Upiwanemo.
Okay.
So she DMs and says, "Hey man, look, this is the movement we're on about." It's weird. I knew very well, and before that, I was praying with God, lead me into a way where I need to be.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know managing artists is not for me, so I don't know what's happening. So, but I was good at it.
Sure.
Yeah, I was good. So, fortunately enough, Ekurhuleni Parliament, I joined Ekurhuleni Parliament. And the first thing I did was to register the Parliament.
Sure.
It was existing before. It always has been at Ekurhuleni Parliament, but just that it wasn't functioning. So, I registered Ekurhuleni Parliament. That's the first thing I did. And had a whole entire executive. Then we protected a few of our malls during the March 20, when there was possible looting this year. And we've been insisting ever since. So that's how it came about. And the core fundamental basis of an existence of Ekurhuleni Parliament is to assist the community. Sure.
I understand.
No problem.
I understand.
No problem.
I understand, my king.
No problem.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
Yeah. So, mind you, Ekurhuleni Parliament, was it when the Secretary General called you? Was she inspired by what Nceba did? Because Nceba bro, the hero, bro.
Yeah, no, so Lux had already established parliaments all around.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but what inspired her to text me or to DM me was what I already had done as an activist, as a junk activist.
Sure.
So that drew her to then us talking, and then it became what it did.
Yeah.
But Pops had already established what we call the parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Soweto was the most prominent one. The other ones were still struggling until recently when parliaments have then come up strong in support of the movement. But the whole concept comes from a doctrine of People's Parliament.
Sure.
If you then go read a book called the Green Book, I think the author, if I'm not mistaken, is Muhammad Gaddafi, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But what I'm sure about is the title, the Green Book. That's where the People's Parliament concept is derived from. So that's where initially the current president of Soweto Parliament adopted the idea. But he's a great fellow. Yeah.
And then his slogan, I think the slogan says the people shall govern.
The people shall govern.
And people governing, do you think we would be in a better place if, or maybe in a better society if we had our people governing? Do we mean people as you governing? I'm not sure when you are advocating for people.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, you are advocating for people. So when you say people shall govern, do we have to have one leader, or we all come together and say this is what we want to happen?
Sure. So that's a very interesting question, actually. I'll tell you why. So we currently have the problems that we have as a country because of these political parties. Right? Some of them had a great impact in our struggle for freedom. But now the members of the political parties then start becoming accountable to the political party instead of to the people. I mean, the political party then forgets, or the members of the political party forgets that the people that they need to represent is not the political party, but the people. So, Ekurhuleni Parliament and any other parliament that exists out there, their primary concern and focus is the representation of the people. So hence, when our branding and logo says Ekurhuleni, what is Ekurhuleni? The municipality. What's the parliament? The gathering, the assembly of people. Yeah, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
So we are consistently on a re-education of we need to then be in control and be in charge of how our people then perceive certain matters and how they want to express themselves. So as to whether I believe people, we can lead in a council where there are different leaders sitting on the table and making decisions. We can lead, be expected to lead. Mohammed Gaddafi has done it before, Paul Kagame has done it before. We had great instances as that. Do I believe we can lead greatly in a council? Possibilities are so. We are going towards a national coalition government soon in 2024 in the elections. So yeah.
And speaking of national coalition, the coalition of the government, do you think that's gonna work?
It's not working in our municipalities.
It's not. Yeah.
Not at all.
Not
at all.
And why do you think it's the case?
The one of the biggest problems we have right now is that all of these political parties are playing a power game, especially in Ekurhuleni, in Tshwane, in the city of Johannesburg. We saw it in Pompala.
Sure, Palace, yeah.
We saw it with the other mayors. It's collapse after collapse, and that's primarily because the members of these political parties, they are serving the interest of the political party. So they are all about looking good in the eyes of the people at the expense of a certain polity. So for okay, no, it's fine. That's a story for another day. Sure.
Yeah. So okay. No. And njengoba besilapha kwi-event, you mentioned ukuthi your like, I mean, I want to understand what, because the day sidabo ku-event we saw abomama, understand?
Sure.
Abomama who are part of your council, right?
Sure.
Abomama bemis, some of them, abomama bemis, banamakhaya wabo, understand? They have their husbands, you understand?
Sure.
I know that as young as you are, understand? As young as you are able to tell umuntu omdala, you can't do that, you need to do that. And Hey, mina, manje izana lento ukuthi man, hayi man.
Sure.
I understand. And when I want to understand which when as the president of Ekurhuleni Parliament, like how do you define effective leadership, my king? How do you define effective leadership?
It all starts with having a good character. Character is very important, right?
And how do you define a good character?
Good character, consistent respect. Your respect is not conditional. Whether you choose to disrespect me today, I want to remain consistent in respect. That's good character. Consistent love, you need to know how to love people. The people around you will tell you, I know how to love, I know how to make people feel loved. Caring, kindness.
Sure.
General good character, man.
Sure.
Don't fake it, just be a good person. That's all you need to do. That's character number one. And remember, I told you, not you specifically, but I was speaking about at the summit that leadership characteristics are all dependent on time, time, process, and influence. Understanding the time and season that you're in, then would enable the process that you would go through. So the challenges that you're facing now are because of the purpose that you are born for. Hence, time is very important, and then enables the relevance of the process that you go through. And the process that you go through enables the influence that you have. So because of the processes that I've went through, and because of the time, the season we are in right now, enables me to have influence over the people that I'm governing and I'm leading. Simple as that. Nothing difficult. It's not rocket science.
It's not, man.
Yeah. Simple as that.
And what do you okay. A lot of leaders are failing to do lento yenzayo wena ne. They are failing to do lento yenzayo, and it's concerning.
Sure.
As it's concerning seeing our lacks, you understand? Like they're actually doing this thing.
Sure.
Understand?
Sure.
Yini man, and yini sets you apart. Understand? Like what sets you apart from these leaders who are so-called leaders?
Can I give you a one-word answer?
True.
Purpose.
So let's not go into
It's a simple
yeah.
If we are born for this, and specifically this and nothing more, you can't then prevent someone from continuing doing what they do best and what they're born for. So it's just simple purpose. That's it.
Yeah. Hi, it's like I found it so fascinating. Like I was like, hey, bro, like, hey.
Sure.
Especially the first time I knew about you, I was like, hey,
Sure.
we need to. So I mean, I'm telling you, because now I'm like, hey, bro, we need to meet this guy. You understand? We need to meet this guy for sure, because he has something going on. You understand? Can't do it at this age. When you decided to take a whole responsibility. Do you know how big Ekurhuleni is?
It's very big.
You understand? So if when I was the whole Ekurhuleni, that's a huge responsibility.
Sure.
You understand? And mind you, how do you deal with people who feel like, or who think when you are not competent, or I don't know what's the way to use competent? Can I use competent?
Yeah, sure.
How do you deal? I wonder who think you are not competent enough to handle lento, because you are not at the epitome of your success. Understand? You're still on your way there.
Sure.
So yes, you've done successful things.
Sure.
The first thing that you did was to start. You understand? That was a success.
Sure.
And you're still doing other things, which are successful. Must not see as big. Okay, you did this successful, but when personally you don't, I don't know, maybe when you feel successful or what, but then I know what you haven't reached to the point where you can say with your chest, which you know what, I am successful.
Sure.
Or maybe if I can maybe understand what is your definition of a success?
So my definition of success is living within the purpose that you were born for. So for me, that's success. That's like as long as you're content with that, no man, no money and riches could ever buy that.
Okay.
Sure.
And so, do you feel like you still go in there, or you're there because purpose.
Yeah,
Right.
so there's still a long way to destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So purpose is the functionality that you have to, or the functions that you have to then relay to the people around you in the walk to destiny. So destiny is the final destination which you are going to. So yes, I haven't reached the final destination, which is being the president of South Africa, the youngest, in fact, president of South Africa, and the president that will lead institute change. That's the destiny. But the purpose is to then ensure that the lives of people are changed emotionally, psychologically, and physically. Sure.
Like there's a lot that I want us to talk about. You understand? But I'll just have to like quickly go through some of the things that like now obviously we spoke about drugs and alcohol abuse.
Sure.
I understand, and you mentioned something within our way. You were once addicted to alcohol. Hey, it's like I really like and so. What can we teach? Like, I mean, the event that you did, the drug and abuse awareness. I understand. We face so, especially like Ekurhuleni, especially like us. I understand. It's either drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and so within our peers' weight. What would you say is the problem? Like, can you say it's poverty? Can we say it's depression? Wow. My peers weight.
Yeah. So if you check, everyone is affected by drugs. Whether you choose to make it a direct problem or an indirect problem, but we are all affected by drugs. If you then also pay attention, in every family, there's at least one member who's an addict.
Yeah.
Whether another auntie or your brother, there's always at least one.
Yeah.
So it is a problem. We can't avoid that being a problem.
Yeah.
But to also answer your question in terms of what could be the problem in terms of this being a problem. What's the problem of the problem?
What's the problem of the problem?
Yeah. And it's psychological and emotional disabilities that we as people are consistently encountering. So if we can then invest in the psychological and emotional well-being of people, then trust me, we can eradicate drugs. Even if Ngati now I'm on drugs, because emotionally and psychologically we are in the right place. There is no need for you to indulge in that. Simple as that.
And then, mind you, how do we start implementing that? How do we go about that? As the parliament, I'm sure we are combating that.
Yeah.
And how do we ensure we are combating that? Because I don't want to mention names, but there was this Kunale task team like us and so on that has been combating our drugs and whatnot, trying to prevent crime and whatnot.
Sure.
We found them now. Then how do we stop it in the as Tina we're trying to stop this, and in Nani you came as a band who were trying to stop this, and now we found ourselves with okay, you are part of the gang now, and you are part of the people who are distributing these drugs, man.
Sure.
I understand. How do we go about that? Because it is a problem, President. It's a problem. It's a problem that we can't solve. And it's, I don't remember what it, oh yeah, this was you. You said this on the event. We know, we are aware of a state. There's that guy who sells drugs. But we don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because unless they say snitches get stitches. Yeah. So if I snitch, I'll definitely get a stitch tomorrow.
Yeah.
I understand. And I'm scared to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we do with that?
The first problem is, just to answer the first question you asked in terms of what are we doing to combat.
Yeah.
So even this initiative I started when I was still even in high school, after 420.
Sure.
I started a support group. Right? I'm not a qualified therapist or anything, but the fundamental understanding is that as human, you need me, I need you, we all need each other
Sure.
to support each other, right?
Sure.
Simple as that. So we started a support group, would sit, I would express how I feel. The next person would express how they feel, and from time to time we discuss different topics. We discussed rape, we discussed, and it was only learners, in fact. And I'm glad to tell you that close to 90% of the group today still doesn't charge alcohol or weed. They're still sober till today, because that experiment or that experience has proved that if I have a shoulder to cry on, that means my emotional stability is secured. That means my psychological stability is secured. Going back to the community, we need to stand united. If we're not united, there isn't been a snitch would get stitches, is because the snitch is a snitch, and they are not snitches.
They are not snitches. Snitch.
It's a snitch. So the concept of individualism then allows them to be stitched. Not only with one stitch, but with stitches.
So if we were to have snitches, then we would mitigate the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need to stand united against the problem. The issues that we are dealing with, the problem from an individual perspective, which is not great. It's not working for us. So we need to deal with the issue from a collective perspective, right? My perception and perspective probably is not even close to the 90% of the problem. The problem with the problem. It's probably 1%. So in order to then achieve progress, we need to then consult with the other 1%. And the other 1% consults with the other 1%, and at last we will reach the 100%. I truly do believe there is a possibility for a drug-free world. I do believe it's possible.
It's possible. So we need to start at the top. If we were to start at the top and come down to these street sellers, then
now that's the problem. So we always want to shift the blame and want to shift the blame to whoever is at the top, the government and so on. So unfortunately, I'll ask you a question. Does Ramaphosa ever normally pay you a visit weekly, maybe?
Nah, doesn't even know me, that guy.
Exactly. Does any MEC normally pay you a visit?
Zero.
Exactly. But who do you normally see? Your next door neighbor. So why do you need to then deal with Ramaphosa when there's a guy by the street corner who's selling drugs, and you as a street committee can then deal with that guy? So let's stop shifting the blame. Let's deal with it. No. Our resources and accessibilities are allowing us to deal with the drug dealers around us.
No. The drug issue is a problem.
A big one.
I want us to go deep, like in the system. In the beginning of the conversation, we talked about our system. I think manje was cool about our system.
Sure.
I understand. And do you believe the education system is doing justice for us?
No, not at all. I think you've heard a number of people, very intellectuals, that have said this before, that in other countries, a 7-year-old is already disabling a phone. What are we doing? Learning about photosynthesis in grade 7 in China. There's something wrong about our system. Where else we have a minister that has served over 10 years, a minister of basic education.
For over
10 years. And I don't know if it doesn't dawn to her that there are schools in the country that don't have proper sanitation till today. They don't have proper facilities till today. That our syllabuses in education hasn't progressed to at least meet the standards of the first revolution of AI. So there is something very, very big with our educational system.
How do we fix that problem, President, going as Ekurhuleni Parliament? How do we fix the problem?
We tend to work with organizations that are around us, like Siafunda, the organizations that help with coding, programming, and so on. So we then take away on weekends and holidays. We then like inspire our kids to then go code.
Yeah.
So that a skill can never be taken away from you.
Sure.
So we can start from external and then start infiltrating the camps of
Yeah.
the current educational system. You can always start from the outside and go inside. Sure.
No man, because in the way education, it's like we you see all these questions.
Sure.
It took me a week, like almost a week, to prepare these questions.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask this question. And then, cause now, I'm like, bro, I see SAPC la. I see SAPC
Sure.
news la, so I don't want that. So you see now I'm trying to, but I'm like, you know what? Let me not understand,
Sure.
because these are all the problems that we all know.
Yeah.
Why are we still talking about the problems?
Exactly.
Why are we not coming up? Because if you can check now, you will see it's like how, you understand, like how. So I want us like to start finding solutions. How do we come about how do we come together and solve one problem at a time? Solve one problem at a time, like, you understand, because that scheme already is trying to solve a problem in GBV. I understand. GBV problem. It's a huge problem, especially amongst teenage cheat. I understand. Prisons are filled with youngsters. I understand. Why? I understand. Why is that? Why should you abuse another woman just for when of nobonisa masculinity you are the man? I understand.
Sure.
If you were to solve one problem at a time, I understand. I think education it's one problem that we need to all stand up as youth. I understand, because if me now is this Ekurhuleni podcast, we have like 300 and something subscribers. I understand, who are watching. I'm like, let's come together. Understand? Sure. Let's come together. Let's march if we have to march. Let's boycott schools if we have to boycott schools.
Sure. So
that they can see we are serious about these things, because we cannot be sending our kids to school. Sure. So that they can learn photosynthesis. Sure. I understand. We can't be doing that. Let's find a solution. Let's find. I mean, if we were to come together, man, we are gonna find a solution, because there's AI, man. Sure. There's AI. Why study public relations whereby I can just prompt the AI to write me a statement? Sure. You understand?
And I'm glad that your referencing was on we. Let's. So it's all about, it all stands in unity. All the problems that we are facing right now are all relying on the fact that we then unite against the problem and finding solution. We are bound to have disagreements towards working towards having a solution. But if we remain consistent, and unity is reliant on not, I can't tolerate you, I need to love you unconditionally. No matter how difficult you are to love.
Yeah.
No matter how difficult you are to love, I need to force myself to, beyond reasonable doubt, to love you, so that we can unite against the problem and be able to find a good solution.
I like I said, because we can have this conversation. Like, I have a lot that we can talk about, and I want us to dive with the music, so that, like, untouched waters.
Sure. Definitely. We should go for part 2.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna go for part 2. You understand? But this.
Yeah.
So it says diplomats of South Africa, simulation representation of Adora.
Adora.
Yeah. Or it's Adora.
Adora. Yeah.
Can you please explain what happened? How did you get to go to Thailand, my brother?
So this was a best diplomats program. It happens quite often in different countries, Thailand, Turkey. I was actually supposed to attend the Turkey one. I was only able to raise enough funding for the Turkey one. So unfortunately enough, I was able to attend the Thailand one. But so this was the first time I was ever on a flight. I've never been had been on a flight before. This year. Yes.
This year.
This year around April.
Yeah.
But quick story is that every time when I would get paid, when I used to work, I would then take 50 rand home and save 25 rand.
Sure. To
then be able to take a taxi to Germiston, from Germiston to Captain Park or Tambo, to just be on the viewing deck and see planes land and leave. And I would always tell myself that I'll fly one day. And thank God I did.
Thank God you did.
Sure. Yeah.
And first thing when you landed in Thailand, what did you see different?
The heat was very different.
compared to Johannesburg.
So it's very hot. The
Okay.
air is very hot. It's hot to such an extent that every car has a gas cylinder of aircon in it.
Yes.
That's how hot it is.
Mm.
It's very hot. That's what I noticed. The people are different. Language barrier as well. And like for people that research a lot, you know that Thailand is a tourist infested area. Full of tourists, so you meet different people. It's a different environment. Cars are different, roads are different, machines are different, technology is different. Everything is just different.
And if you were to if you were to compare the Thailand Mzansi is a great country, man. We have great people, we have great food, we have, you understand? But there's things you must know we can do better.
Sure, definitely.
We can do better. Like, what's that thing you picked up? Why is South Africa not doing this, or why is our government not implementing this?
Sure. So Thailand operates 24 hours.
24 hours.
24 hours. 24 hours. Nothing stops. I remember there was a time, I think it was second day of conference, we were coming from a mall. And when I looked at the time, so conference ended around 10. I looked at the time, it was 1 a.m. in the morning. And the mall was fully functional. Restaurants were still operating, clothing stores were still operating.
Okay.
And when we were driving back in a taxi from the mall, MPK, because I was in Bangkok, back to Prince Palace Hotel, I literally saw people fixing the street 1 a.m. in the morning, around 1, 2
1 a.m. Okay. Yeah, like
it's normal. What I also saw is that outside MBK, you see your vendor stores.
Yeah.
Vendor stores, so they are food stores. So they don't pack up like and take things home. So they just close with the curtain and leave everything. Nothing would be stolen.
So there's lower crime rate.
There is crime, but it
not petty crime.
Yeah, it interested me as to how you'd rarely see an officer. The only time you saw an officer was when there was an accident, a car accident. And it wasn't a very big car accident. It was just a bump on a person, so the person was hit by the car, but it wasn't bad. That was the only time I saw an officer of the law, or at the temple. That's the only time I would see an officer of the law. But at night, nothing at all. Nothing at all. So I don't know how they do it, but I was so interested to find out as to how are you able to keep a country beautiful like that.
Running for 24 hours. My king, we're definitely gonna have a part 2.
Definitely.
You understand? We're definitely gonna have a part 2. I just wanna know today, not tomorrow, today. Yeah.
Is it already 12?
Yeah.
Sure.
2-1 now, man. It's 2-1 now. It's 20-1 now.
Yeah.
What can we expect? What can we expect from Nceba Ngwenya, the president of Ekurhuleni Parliament, and the Parliament in the EU?
What you can be guaranteed is that we will consequently be making change, like it or not, deliberately or so. Whether we are being threatened or not, whether they send people to our homes to kill us or not, we will continue to serve the people the best way we can. We will continue eradicating drugs in our communities. We will definitely continue showing and educating people about the importance of unity. Simple. That's what they can be expecting from us.
Sure. Hey, you just mentioned something, mind. Along the lines, you said even if they can send people to come to your houses.
Sure.
Like, to other parties, or like do they feel like we're threats?
Yeah, definitely. I'm 20 years of age. What gives me the right to sit in MEC meetings, in MMC meetings, to address matters of importance? You know, not only do politicians find me as a threat, but also drug dealers. But I think they're missing a point that I'm not the threat, but the movement is a threat. And I'm not saying Ekurhuleni Parliament is a movement. I'm not only referring to Ekurhuleni
Parliament.
But I'm talking about the constitution that we run by as the people that represents the People's Assembly. The people that represent the people shall govern.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they kill me, but they don't know there'll be a rising 20,000 more in other neighbors, even way better and more brilliant than I am. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we are. So they drug dealers have tried to deal with me, but I'm still here. So sure.
And I mean, bruh, like they will never win. My press, like they will never win. Press.
Sure.
Because, like you said, this is a calling. You understand?
Sure.
And God is protecting you.
Definitely.
All day, every day. You
Sure.
understand? And you pray. You pray it mustn't get Allah.
Yeah.
You understand? So you pray. You definitely pray. So I get about going along. You know what I'm talking? And any words of encouragement, can I say motivation, or to whoever who's watching right now, to whoever feels Uguti Nceba is doing great, I look up to Nceba. You understand? Because it's 20 years, and you are 20 years and you are sitting in my office in my MMC and MMC. We need that.
Yes.
That is what we need as a country currently, to have someone who understands us as CEO. What is it? A collection or a gas? Understand? We need someone often now we a gas. Also, child, I want to love you. It's not on. This is how you should be doing this. I understand. So, what would you say, Jay? Especially to youth and
yeah. I think it's about time. So my words of encouragement are very simple. I think it's about time we start investing in ourselves in terms of self-introspection. Let's start investing in ourselves. Let's start loving ourselves more. Let's start paying attention to those around us, and everything will then commence from there in terms of building ourselves to what we need to be. But let's start by self-introspection. Let's self-introspect. That's where everything starts. That's where I started. I self-introspected before I then decided to make important decisions. And what happened next was, what followed suit was that I then ensured that I'm united with everyone that is around me. Those that are lovable and those that are unlovable. Sure. Those are my last words of wisdom. That's it.
Honestly, I have no words. Like I have no words. I have no words. Had a beautiful conversation. Had a fruitful conversation. I learned a lot, and hopefully now you learned a thing or two. Because if you didn't learn, like, what was the purpose of you listening to the whole podcast, or what was the purpose of you watching? Because the purpose of me bringing him here, it was for school. You understand? I mean, I'm sure in part 2 we'll be talking more politics. We'll be diving into politics much. You understand? Now it was just us introducing Nceba. You understand? It was just us introducing Nceba and what it's about. You understand? And I respect the president, guys. Like, you don't know what's the responsibility. I mean, it's not easy. It's not. I don't think it's easy waking up and calling yourself a president of Ekurhuleni. Like, it's not an easy thing. So you can imagine the criticism, the amount of criticism that he has to deal with, the amount of effort, time, energy. It's a lot. I understand. It's a lot. And what I can tell you is, if you are not learning, what is it that you're doing? Like, you need to learn. Like, start investing in yourself. Like you said. I understand? Because the only thing that you have, it's time. Okay, we have time, we have energy. It's time, energy, and energy. Currently, we have these two. We have time and we have energy. And there will come a time whereby it's time, energy, and money. There will come a time whereby you won't have all these three things. You might have energy now, you might not. You don't have money right now, but you have energy and you have your time. So you can use your time to invest start something, do something, and you can use your energy to go out there, go see the world, go face the world. You understand? And you will reach a certain age whereby you can't do all these things now. You won't have time to travel, you won't have the energy. You understand? You will have money, but your health will be gone. You understand? So start, guys. Start now. Why wait?